I'm still breaking went by. I'm still increasing the scope of this ridiculous game, mixing a turn-based combat system with a visual novel, where you ship the characters. It's not a dating sim, it looks like one, and I'm just adding in more features and overcomplicating everything. Hi, welcome. I got more updates. I got a few things to show you, one of which is this computer screen that I made. This is a feature in the player character's house, which is kind of the save point where you go to after each day and where you get new information starting new progression in the game. So yeah, this is an important area that is constantly changing. And so from the beginning I wanted some kind of digital communication, so you're able to interact with the characters from this point, so you can make decisions about the next day and like progress the game from here. And so I came up with this computer setup. What's fun about this is that if you've seen my last video, the player character is this like immortal ghost. Age is not specified, but the implication here is that they've lived through many times in history. And so here, like, their desk is just a bit of a mess of these artifacts from different periods. Because the actual setting of this game is in the future, it's a bit cyberpunk-ish. That doesn't really reflect in here. The player character still has all these artifacts from the lives that they've lived, like the centuries they've moved in. And so that was nice because that allowed me to very easily have this sort of old school Windows look of the PC. Because, oh yeah, like early 2000s was also a time when this character was active. In the same way, they have a tape recorder on their desk. And yeah, as you saw, you can interact with this computer screen. You can scroll to text conversations, web pages. You can move the windows around. There are sound effects. I wanted it to feel kind of fun, just sitting at your desk and just idling, because the rest of the game is pretty intense. And so this is very much a point that should feel like you're allowed to take a break here. You're allowed to just take a breath and just fuck around a bit until the next day. So, how did I make this? My first design was a full screen one here that would just show up when you're using the computer and then disappear. What's nice about it is obviously the visibility. With the current setup, I really had to make sure that the text was readable enough because it's such a small part of your whole screen. But the reason I decided to change this was because I still needed an actual computer to be like on your desk, right? Because at first I thought, oh, maybe I'll just do a laptop. And maybe I could have, so you just have a closed laptop on your desk that doesn't take up a lot of visual space. And then you just click on it and then the screen opens. But then I honestly just really wanted that computer screen vibe. And you know, I need to fit in a computer screen into this scene that I had already made. And then I realized, like, if this is going to be a realistic size of a computer, then I might as well use this screen for the actual display of the windows. So that's what I did. I ended up making the window smaller and then the font bigger, so it was still readable. And obviously that was pretty difficult on such a small part of your whole screen. And that's when I decided, okay, anything with text probably needs to be scrollable. And so I figured that out. And that ended up being a fun feature because it's more interaction. And as I said in my last video, the more interaction I can have in a visual novel, the better it is for me, because in a visual novel there's inherently not a lot to control. You basically just play it by clicking menu buttons and then clicking to continue the text. So that ended up working out. Anyway, speaking of these characters, I redesigned one of them, which honestly I've wanted to do since first creating these sprites. And so I finally did it. What changed is obviously the color scheme a bit. I shifted away from the orange and made it yellow, mostly because the yellow just works better with the purple. The reason I originally had the orange in his design is because Cloud's design also features a lot of orange, and all the character couples have a bit of overlap in their color schemes. But these two characters already share some similar colors, mostly if you look at Cloud's pants, they color match to Ryder's coat. So that was fine. And yeah, I think this looks a lot better. I thought the buttons were just way too silly, so I got rid of those. And I instead added some more realistic detail in his coat. And then, with these two characters, I've been trying to figure out how I want the game to look visually. And obviously I've already made all the sprites, I've been working on the backgrounds. I should know how it looks visually. But I meant more, my issue that I'm currently struggling with is that I want there to be a lot of movement in the game. I want things to be changing on the screen. But I also want to not just cycle through the same sprites, have the same setup with the same type of like structure, you know, like in a visual novel you have a character in front of you and then a background and then a text box. If you've been following me, you know that I've been working on these like full screen illustrations where from scratch I just draw characters within like a background. And so this is for scenes where you as the player are not physically present, you're just observing. And so you just have this static image of two characters interacting somewhere, not like looking at the camera. The problem is that, you know, it's a static image. And so for this scene where they are on their like pretend date, which is a hostage negotiation, I really need the scene to be expressive because it's a big character moment. So what I've been working out is some combination of the two formats. So you have the static image maybe to set the scene or maybe to end the scene, and then have a lot of the dialogue just be in a normal like visual novel format, but then with the characters really talking to each other, like the camera is shifting and like one person is talking, then it moves to the next character, as you can see here. And so I need to make a background for that yet. Maybe I want to draw like the restaurant from a bit of a very zoomed out top-down view, really to have this cinematic moment where the scene is set, you have some like sound effects, and then I just need to figure out a way of like, how am I making this look cinematic and then have it not just be static and have it feasible for me to do. Because obviously what I could have done is create an alternate version of this image, but then from the other perspective, so you see Wright's face, and maybe then have their facial expressions change, or have like what they're doing with their hands like change. Problem is that takes way too much time, and I do not have that. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm figuring out right now. And so that probably is what I will be working on mostly the next weeks. Please like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.